In the silence of the Molsheim atelier, something extraordinary waits to be unveiled, hidden beneath a single shaft of cold white light. This is not simply a car taking shape in the shadows. It is the next chapter of a legacy that began over a century ago. Every curve emerging from the darkness has been shaped by engineers who refuse to compromise on a single millimeter of design. The horseshoe grille catches the light first, an emblem that has defined this mark since its earliest creations. Behind that grille beats something almost mythical, an engine built without turbochargers, relying purely on the raw fury of 16 cylinders breathing free air. Engineers at Cosworth worked alongside Bugatti's team to craft this 8.3-liter masterpiece, refusing to dilute its character with forced induction. It screams to 9,500 revolutions per minute, a sound that modern hypercars have almost entirely abandoned in pursuit of efficiency. Yet this is no relic of the past. 3 electric motors join the chorus, adding 800 horsepower of instant, seamless torque. Together, the combustion heart and the electric muscle produce 1,800 horsepower, a number that redefines what a production hypercar can achieve. The body itself tells its own story, a two-tone silhouette of exposed carbon fiber wrapped around a spine of deep painted red. Forged wheels, wider at the rear to tame the immense power being sent rearward, sit beneath flared composite arches. Carbon ceramic brakes lie in wait behind those wheels, massive discs built to shed speed as violently as the engine builds it. Step inside, and the obsession with craftsmanship only deepens, where Swiss watchmakers have built an instrument cluster from over 600 individual components. There are no digital gauges staring back at the driver, only mechanical needles, moving with the same precision found inside a fine timepiece. A fixed steering hub keeps that analog cluster perfectly visible, no matter which way the wheel is turned. Dihedral doors rise upward and outward, revealing a cabin where crystal glass and milled aluminum frame every switch and lever. This car is allowed to coexist with the modern world, capable of traveling nearly 40 miles on electric power alone before the V16 ever wakes. But when the moment comes and that engine does ignite, every nearby surface seems to vibrate with anticipation. 2 seconds. That's all it takes to reach 60 miles an hour, the car flinging itself forward with a violence that feels almost alive. At full attack, this machine will not stop accelerating until the needle crosses 276 miles per hour. Only 250 examples will ever exist, each one a rolling monument to a philosophy that refuses to let the past be forgotten. Beneath that stunning skin lies an obsession with airflow that few road cars will ever match. Every intake, every vent, every gap between panels was sculpted not for beauty alone, but to feed the engine and cool the brakes under brutal punishment. The rear wing remains hidden during high-speed runs, tucked away so the tourbillon can slice through the air with almost nothing standing in its way. At over 400 kilometers an hour, this car achieves a kind of balance that should not be possible for something this powerful. Active aerodynamics shift constantly, reading the road and adjusting downforce in fractions of a second. In track mode, that same wing rises and the car transforms, clawing the asphalt with force most drivers will never fully experience. The chassis beneath it all is carved from aerospace-grade carbon composite, a structure as much sculpture as it is safety cell. Bugatti calls it a stunning work of art hidden from view, exquisitely formed, yet immensely strong. Even the suspension components were designed with artificial intelligence, 3-dimensionally printed into organic shapes no human hand could draft alone. Divergent technologies helped craft these forged aluminum links, 45% lighter than anything found in the car that came before it. Every gram removed was a gram earned, and nothing on this car exists without purpose. Inside Bugatti's ateliers, each tourbillon is assembled not on a production line, but by hand, with a patience that modern manufacturing rarely allows. Owners are invited to witness their car's creation, to stand beside artisans as carbon fiber becomes something almost alive. 250 families will eventually hold the keys to one of these machines, each one slightly different, each one personal. But craftsmanship alone does not explain the violence this car is capable of unleashing. Push the throttle fully, and the V16 howls upward, electric motors filling every gap in the power band instantly. 100 miles an hour arrives in a blur, the cabin shaking gently as the aerodynamics fight to keep everything pinned to the road. 200 miles an hour comes faster than most cars reach half that speed, the horizon beginning to blur at the edges. And when the speed key is finally turned, the wing drops flat and the tourbillon reaches for 276 miles an hour without hesitation. Nothing else on the road can follow it there. This is not just another hypercar. It is Bugatti's declaration that the naturally aspirated engine, paired with the precision of electric power, can still define the absolute edge of what a car can be. To understand the tourbillon, you have to go back more than a century, to a time when Ettore Bugatti believed that nothing was too beautiful to be functional. In 1909, his first creations already carried that same obsession with elegance married to engineering. Decades later, the Veyron reintroduced the world to what a hypercar could be. A quad turbocharged W16 engine producing numbers nobody thought possible. Then came the Chiron, refining that formula, pushing speed and luxury further than the Veyron ever dared. Now the tourbillon arrives, not as a replacement, but as a complete reinvention of what came before it. Where the Veyron and Chiron leaned on turbochargers, this new V16 breathes freely, a deliberate rejection of the easy path. Rivals have chased Bugatti for years, building electric hypercars that promise instant violence without soul. The Rimac Nevera proves electric power alone can be terrifyingly fast, yet it lacks the mechanical drama this V16 delivers. Koenigsegg's Jesko Absolute chases raw top speed with relentless engineering focus, a worthy rival in pursuit of the same horizon. Even McLaren's hybrid hypercars bring incredible balance, but none combine heritage, sound, and hybrid power quite like this. What sets the tourbillon apart is not just a number on a spec sheet. It is the refusal to abandon what made Bugatti legendary in the first place. This car proves that a naturally aspirated soul and electrified muscle are not opposites, but partners. Every artisan, every engineer, every late night spent perfecting a single bracket led to this moment. The tourbillon does not simply join the conversation about the greatest cars ever built. It ends it. 250 owners will carry that responsibility forward, stewards of a machine built to outlast trends and outlive opinions. Long after today's headlines fade, this car will still be discussed in the same breath as the Veyron and the Chiron before it. It stands as proof that passion, patience, and obsession can still triumph over shortcuts and easy answers. As the sun sets over Molsheim, the tourbillon rests, engine cooling, having once again redefined what a hypercar can be. This is Bugatti's tourbillon, a 16-cylinder heartbeat wrapped in carbon and watchmaking precision, built not for today, but for history. And history, much like this car, never truly stops moving forward. Before any tourbillon reaches an owner's hands, it must survive trials most road cars will never face. Test mules covered in camouflage wrap were driven across scorching desert roads, engines pushed to their absolute thermal limits. Engineers monitored every sensor obsessively, watching for the smallest sign of weakness in a design meant to last decades. In sub-zero conditions, the same prototypes were frozen overnight, then forced to fire instantly without hesitation. Every single time, that V16 answered the call, refusing to stumble even in punishing cold. On the high-speed oval, engineers chased stability at velocities that would shred lesser machines apart. Tires were pushed past their rated limits deliberately, just to understand precisely where the boundary truly sat. Telemetry data poured in by the terabyte, each lap refining the suspension geometry by fractions of a millimeter. But numbers alone never satisfied Bugatti's engineers. They wanted a feeling, a connection between car and driver that data could never fully capture. So they spent months simply listening, adjusting the exhaust geometry until the V16's voice became something unmistakable. They wanted drivers to feel every explosion inside those 16 cylinders. Not muffled, not synthesized, but real. No speakers, no amplified soundtracks. Just 16 cylinders breathing free air, exactly as Ettore Bugatti would have demanded. When the tourbillon was finally unveiled to the public, the reaction was instantaneous and overwhelming. Enthusiasts and journalists alike struggled to find words for what they had just witnessed rolling onto the stage. Within hours, every single one of the 250 allocations had already found a home. Critics who doubted a naturally aspirated engine could still matter were forced to reconsider everything they believed. The Tourbillon did not simply enter the hypercar conversation. It rewrote the rules governing it entirely. Decades from now, this will be remembered as the moment Bugatti proved heritage and innovation could share the same machine. Long after production ends, the sound of that V16 will echo through automotive history as a defining moment. This is the Tourbillon's true legacy. Not just speed, not just power, but a promise kept to everyone who still believes in the soul of the combustion engine. For one collector, the wait has finally ended. A phone call confirming that their Tourbillon is ready for collection. They arrive at the Molsheim facility, not as a customer, but as someone joining a very small, very exclusive family. A Bugatti representative walks them slowly around the car, pointing out details only an owner would ever notice. They run a hand along the carbon fiber surface, feeling the texture beneath their fingertips for the very first time. The dihedral door rises smoothly, inviting them into a cabin built specifically around their own measurements and preferences. Every stitch, every dial, every surface was chosen by them months earlier, now finally real instead of imagined. They settle into the seat, hands finding the fixed steering hub naturally, as if the car already knows them. The crystal lever turns, and for the first time, that V16 awakens specifically for them. From the cobblestone streets of Molsheim to the sweeping curves of the Alps, the Tourbillon feels equally at home anywhere it travels. Along the Amalfi coast, sunlight dances across the carbon fiber as the car hugs cliffside roads with effortless precision. On empty German autobahns, the Tourbillon finally stretches its legs, the V16 singing freely without restriction. Through the deserts of the Middle East, it cuts through heat and distance as if neither truly exists for this machine. Wherever it goes, crowds gather, phones rise, and conversations pause, if only for a moment to witness it pass. This is what Bugatti always intended, a car that inspires emotion wherever it appears, not just admiration for numbers. The Tourbillon was never meant to simply be fast, it was built to be unforgettable. Years from now, when someone speaks of the greatest hypercars ever created, this name will rise immediately to the top. 250 units, 16 cylinders, and one singular vision will define an era long after this video ends. This has been the story of the Bugatti Tourbillon, proof that the soul of the automobile is still very much alive.